since we made Steve's story, the biography on my life, we've had such a tremendous response from your letters and emails that we've decided to go back to the original 90-minute version. It's never been seen before. It's the director's cut. So you'll see more of my exciting early crocodile captures, intimate moments and highlights from our more recent adventures. Sit back and enjoy the journey on this Steve Story Special Edition.
This little beauty.
Check this out. What a little beauty. Don't fuck with it.
Some of the fun.
Oh, gorgeous.
From the time he was a boy, Steve's been passionate about wildlife. He's very lucky because he grew up at a zoo with two parents who devoted their lives to teaching him all about the animals he loves. From the first time he caught a crocodile at just 9 years of age, Steve has loved all sorts of reptiles. Cold-blooded animals are his favorite. I think he hatched out in a crocodile enclosure. We're going to show you some exciting vision on a story about Steve Irwin and how it all began. Over the years, Steve has developed an amazing affinity with all of the animals that he encounters. He has an uncanny ability to be at one with some of the most wild animals on the face of the earth. But it's not just limited to the dangerous species. He also has a special bond with our more lovable creatures.
I've had some wildlife encounters in my life, but the emotions that I felt in my heart, I was nearly crying. To get this close and be loved on by this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous mummy orang was such a touching experience. One that I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
Or this memorable experience with a tiger rattler.
He'll settle down in a minute. All I got to do is avoid getting bitten for the first 20 seconds, and then he'll settle down. Here he goes. He's settling down. Here, he stopped rattling. I think now I can take the liberty of moving in a little closer. You've got to imagine, I'm a professional. I've been dealing with highly venomous snakes all my life. And I'm just staring straight at his head, checking out his demeanor. He settled down, he stopped rattling. And now, and only now, I can demonstrate how beautiful he is and how uninclined he is to strike. Look at that, my hands, my nose, my face, my eyes are all within strike range. He's a pit viper. He could strike back over his own body at least 2/3 his body length, which means he could get me right on the eyebrow. Isn't this magnificent? Notice the snake, how it's jiggling up and down? That's my nerves. I am really, really nervous. But I'm a professional. I've never been envenomated by a venomous snake. I take great pride in that. But you can see I'm shaking like a leaf. And this snake is totally unfazed by it. Look at his little rattle there. Beautiful rattle. Perfectly formed. Look at that. There's another species of rattler here, the speckled. They're very hard to tell apart from these tiger rattlers. The only way to tell is those bands and the tail. The speckled's got that coon tail, black on white before the buttons. I just really appreciate you letting me do this. Free handle, something no one should ever do.
This is the Steve Irwin that you've come to know on television. But what was it like in the beginning? What was he like as a child?
I would describe Stephen as a monster. He was never where he was supposed to be. He was always missing. There was a time when we were to go away on a holiday, one of the very few times we would go away on the holiday. He was down the local creek chasing lizards. Everybody else was ready to go. We had to go and look for him. If you took him out in the bush, the hardest job for the whole trip would be to keep an eye on Stephen. The only successful way, and I never ever tried it, but the most successful way would have been to tie him to the truck. But on the other hand, it was marvellous to have somebody at that size, especially your own son, to sort of go on a field trip with you.
Growing up at the reptile park is something that is really hard to describe, in that my whole life, whether I was waking up in the morning going to school or it was the weekend and I had to clean out crocodile enclosures, I was surrounded by wildlife. My whole aim as a kid was to find animals, and particularly venomous snakes and lizards, so I could show my dad, and so my whole life I just had to go out there and make Dad proud. Meanwhile, he's out looking for me. And so the opposite effect was happening. Oh, he wasn't all that proud. He was there, come on, we're ready to go and we can't find you. So, yeah, he had his hands full, I think.
He's always been very, very active, on the verge of being hyperactive, really, very much so. If he went missing, you could always look up a tree, there he'd be. I never used to stop him. I got to the stage where, from the age of 2 years old, he would never be on the ground, he'd be up somewhere. It was just useless. You had to let him go his way. And he's always been the same, and he always will be. When we'd be travelling to and fro school, if he saw a reptile on the road, we always had to stop and investigate what it was, whether we were running late or early or whatever. One particular instance, I have stopped the car and said, well, get out and do it, and left him there. My husband decided to buy Stephen a snake for his birthday. He was 6 years old and he got a python. It was about 12 foot long. He loved this python.
My dad is my hero, my legend, my icon, and also my mentor. And he was kind of ahead of his time with wildlife. He was at the cutting edge of animal husbandry and understanding the wilderness and all of the wildlife in it.
We decided that we'd keep a couple of reptiles as pets because we were always out fishing, and we were always running into tiger snakes and black snakes and brown snakes and things. So we decided, rather than hurt them, that we'd keep them as pets. So we kept a couple as pets, and then it just grew from there. We thought that if we could make some type of a living out of an animal park, then Queensland's climate was quite good for that. Building materials at that time were extremely difficult to get, and the first couple of years we actually lived in a caravan because we couldn't build a house.
It was never easy. It was something we'd never done before. We'd come from Melbourne working as plumbers up to opening a park of animals.
My mum is just the most beautiful person on the face of the earth. You know, I was born on my mum's birthday, and so every time my birthday comes around, I just get this overwhelming warmth, just engulfs my entire body. All of her life, she has tried to rehabilitate orphan animals like orphan joey kangaroos, koalas, wombats, snakes, and raise 3 kids of her own.
We started off with a very small collection. We had a few snakes, we had a few lizards, and I think it took us probably at that time a couple of years before we managed to get a couple of crocodiles. Stephen would have gone crocodile catching with us extremely early in the piece, actually, when we were catching freshwater crocodiles. This would have have been in the early 70s, and the same thing applied, that it was, although he was only a fairly young lad, it was extremely difficult to keep him in the boat so that you could keep your eye on him, because if we happened to see a croc, he would want to be the first one out to grab it.
I think I was 9 years old when I had my first jump on a freshie, and that was a pretty wild experience. You know, up the front of the boat, I've got the spotlight, and you can imagine at 9 years of age I was keen as mustard, and I was accustomed to spotlighting the crocs, and I'd put the spotty down, he'd be driving, and he'd go in and jump them. But something changed this night, and he had me up the front, and he's "Righto, son, you can get him."
Okay, up the front, and don't worry about the trees, Stephen.
We were going up the river and we saw this crocodile close to the bank.
There's one, Dad, there's one!
Keep your eye on it, son.
And I trusted Stephen that he knew what size crocodile it was, which was rather silly on my part. I should have known better.
We're getting closer and closer until I can see his eyes right in front. Whoa! Speared straight down, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. I was overwhelmed, and I didn't realise how large it was.
And then I realised that this croc is nearly the same size as Stephen. He's gradually going underwater with the crocodile. So I grabbed him and the croc and threw them both in the boat.
Then I felt the strength of my dad's arm come underneath both of us and flip us both into the boat, and he just pinned us down. "You're all right, lad, you're all right." And sure enough, I was okay, and by crikey, that was the proudest moment of my entire life. I copped a little bit of flack at school, you know, at primary school, because I wasn't into push bikes and then into motorbikes or skateboards, and so at lunchtime or morning tea, I'd be out there looking at the birds, trying to find little lizards and, you know, getting up close to them and feeding them grasshoppers. And I guess after a period of time, the other kids seemed to warm up to it, and they got involved. Wildlife has always been my passion. It was my backyard. But surfing, I needed a sport, and, you know, you can't quite keep fit enough chasing lizards around, so I took up surfing, and that became quite a passion. And in fact, I was able to travel later in life, surfing and doing wildlife. So there was a good mutual tie-in there with my sport and my passion. In 1985, Dad and I, we felt that action speaks louder than words, and we've always loved our crocodiles, and we felt that the conflict between crocodiles and man is something that we could help with. And so Dad joined up with the East Coast Crocodile Management Program, and together away we went, trying to help the crocodiles by removing them from the area before there was that conflict or a potential danger of someone getting bitten.
That was probably the most exciting time at the park, actually, because we had to catch what they classified then as nuisance or road crocodiles. And we were contracted to National Parks and Wildlife to catch these crocodiles. It was an extremely exciting time. He seemed to have a reasonably good knack of not only finding the crocodiles, but also catching them.
I've found that the best way to catch a crocodile is to treat it as a one-on-one situation. So I focus. I just focus on that crocodile so hard that I am unaware of anything around me. I won't eat. I'll stay on that river because I feel so passionate about catching that croc before someone gets to him. I just won't stop. I've just got to do it. And of course, when that croc goes into the trap and I've trapped him, I'm elated. It's like, whoosh, it's almost an adrenaline surge after the act of catching the croc, because you know that you've secured the animal and he's going to live a really happy life. I absolutely thrived on it. Living right in the bush, I became at one with nature, and I think those years of isolation in the bush, trying to help crocodiles, built Steve Irwin. And I had to use bush tucker, and I'd resort to fishing to get a feed. So it really honed my bush skills.
I can't recall how many crocodiles we would have caught over the years. was, I suppose, close to 100 crocodiles maybe over those years.
I spent what felt like a lifetime up in the wilderness catching crocodiles on my own, and occasionally I'd have family and friends helping me, which was great. Dad bought me this old National video recorder, which I'd jam in a tree, on the mud bank, put it on the front of the boat, on the back of the truck, absolutely everywhere to capture a piece of history. My sister Mandy came up to give me a hand, and she turned out to be an expert on the camera. Sharing all this with my dad and with my best mate Wes has helped to build me to be the person I am, because it was crocodile conservation in its rawest form, and to get it all on an old video camera is exceptional.
Female crocodile, Mandy Irwin.
It was very physical, hard work. Manipulating, grabbing, tossing these big crocodiles. And mostly I was on my own.
And here we are back at the Queensland Reptile and Fauna Park with 2 crocodiles.
Oh, they were shifting 2 crocodiles one day, and I wasn't there, but of course, as usual, they just grabbed whatever they could find, and when I managed to make it over there, here's Rebecca's bed. Her mattress off her bed, they actually put over the crocodile to shift it.
Be careful, that's Becky's bed.
Is that whose bed?
Becky's. Rebecca's.
That's my granddaughter's bed.
See that little window?
I spent a long time in the bush, and I'd caught a whole series of crocodiles, and with that came a big head and complacency. And of course, never the two shall meet. Catching crocs and complacency is just not on. And I can hear my dad's words in the background there. I'm going to kick your bottom if you go complacent. Anyway, I got complacent.
I think he'd been in the bush a bit too long because he got very complacent. And he hadn't secured, although he got this crocodile back to camp, ready to put into a crate, she was still in the trap, but she hadn't been secured. Her mouth hadn't been secured. So while he's getting the transport crate ready, he let this croc out of the trap, and she was just sitting there. So he goes in the box.
As I'm backed out, whack! She put a series of real beaut holes in my feet all the way to the bone.
Thanks a lot.
And I had to ring my dad up. And so I've rung up, "Oh, Dad, I need some help." "Is you need some help?" Geez, this doesn't sound like young Steve-O.
Look what that crocodile did to me, Suey.
So he was extremely fortunate that all he had in his foot was some holes, and he also still had the croc that could have just walked off back to the creek.
Agro was one of the wildest captures in my entire life, and I had my heart in my throat for a long time. We spent many, many hours together. The sequence of events that happened was Dad went up into this area. He was a designated road crocodile, and he was a really naughty croc. He'd pop right up next to boats. And in fact, when Dad was up there, he located him very easily, and he put a marker in the tree, so when I went up, I knew exactly where to set the trap. Now, a whole series of events happened where I built a lot of respect for this one animal, Agro. I've gone in, I've located the trap site, and even when I went in to set the trap, I felt this crocodile stalking me. I couldn't see it, but I could sense it. And myself and my dog were setting the trap. Something bumped into the boat. My dog started barking at the water. Obviously a crocodile. She was alarming me to the danger.
and I was really scared. Anyway, we set the trap, I got back into the boat, away we went. And a few days went past, he started hitting lead-in baits, which is the first sign I'm going to catch a croc. And then sure enough, one morning, I wake up, headed up to the trap site, and the trap was completely submerged underwater. And so I'm scratching my head. I wonder what's going on here. The trap's gone off. Something's taken the bait. Next minute, psh, the spout come out of the water. And the nostrils of air from a crocodile. I've gone, you beauty, I've got a crocodile. It's under the water, so I park my boat over the top thinking, what am I going to do? Next minute, bang, straight under the boat. He's headbutted the boat. And I've gone, crikey, I've got no idea of knowing how big it is. I've gained a bit of net and hooked it into the bow of the boat. Bang! He's headbutted the boat again. God, oh, crikey. So I've gained a bit more net, and it's just like this whirlpool of crocodile, very, very excited and aggravated. As he's carrying on and getting really aggressive, I'm hauling net in and hooking it in and hooking it in and hooking it in until here's the tail of the crocodile up over the bow of the boat. I'm thinking, you beauty, I'm gaining ground on him, so I've taken one more hook and hooked it in. Now his whole tail is over the bow of the boat, about a 12-foot croc. Next thing, he's pivoted off his tail and he's just gone, whoa, straight out of the water, mouth open, straight in the boat. Bang! Me and my dog, whoop, we're out. Jumped straight out of the boat into the water, and now he's in the well of the boat. And we're panicking. Chili's gone for the bank, she's gone up into the mud. I don't want anything to do with this. I've had to panic a little bit and get my act together. I grabbed mangrove branches and bags, cut the ropes off, tied them all around the boat, and he's thrashing around trying to cave the inside of my boat in. I finally had enough stuff over the top of him that I thought I had him secured. Blindfold's the trick, but I couldn't get near his head, he would have taken my arms off. And then I've had to jump in the boat with him, and he growling at me, mouth open. I'm throwing things on him, you know, trying to keep his eyes covered. As soon as I fired up the boat, that really hurt his feelings. He just got bang, and I could feel the boat starting to split. And oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And as I'm going along, he fought so ferociously that I thought he was just going to split the boat like a tin can. So I just rammed it straight up onto a mud bank into the mangroves, and he settled down again, and I pulled the boat off and then took off. When I got back to camp, I'm on my own. Here's 200 or 300, well, it would have been about 300 kilos of crocodile in the boat. One bloke, I can't shift it. So I hooked it up to me four-wheel drive and just skull dragged the boat out of the water up to my camp, and then I used the bull bar of my truck. I tipped the boat over and tipped the crocodile out onto the ground.
Okay, what I've got to endeavour to do here is got to get a top rope on, try to get out of this bag. But she's a bit aggressive. I don't know why.
It was a big event trying to get around him on my own to manipulate him to get him into a box. My little dog was running around and nipping him on the tail, so he'd spin round and try and kill her, and oh crikey, what an event.
Sorry, Dad, but I'm going to put a few more knots on it.
Secured. I finally got him up inside a box, but he was so powerful he's just gone bang and headbutted the front of the box and gone straight through it.
So much for your box, Dad. It's gone straight through the flaming box and into the other.
You know, it was all about teamwork. I guess my dad and I had worked together so long and had such a bond with each other that the impossible was just a walk in the park. Everything was achievable. And together, we still love Agro. And to this day, Agro, he's really quite aggressive towards me. We spent a lot of time together with that capture and he's never forgiven me. To this day, Agro just hates me. And it's all about territory. He just wants me completely away from where he wants to live. He's got a few beautiful girls and he'll defend what is his with great aggression and violence. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing in his territory, he considers it as his job to kill me or whatever's in my hands. And he's claimed a couple of lawnmowers, some brush cutters, a whippersnipper. You name it, he's virtually grabbed it, which is great. I mean, he's grabbed and killed the machinery rather than me. Which, well, machinery's easily replaced. Arms, legs and lives aren't. You can't blame him. I love Agro. I mean, he is the most beautiful, boisterous, naughty male crocodile I've ever come across. And I won't want to make a mistake around him. So I understand the rules. And they're his rules. There was one time when I was trying to catch this particular crocodile who I caught after 2 years. His name was Akko, 16 feet in length. I went out into the river just this one particular night, scanned the river system, bang, eye shine. Picked up this eye shine, went over towards it. It was just myself and my dog in the still of the night. And as I went over, I thought, wow, that's a big croc. And I got right up on top of it, and it was about 10 feet in length. And I thought, heck, this is one of the girls. I better see if I can get a net around her and catch her. So what I did was I went into the mangroves, because she was just sitting underneath the mangroves on a rising tide. And of course the tides flow really quickly. So I've gone into the mangroves, attached a big net, and then I've reversed the boat back out into the river and allowed myself to drift with the tide around the crocodile. I thought, you beauty. She's submerged, but she should be inside the net. And then I picked up the spotlight and looked out into the net, and sure enough, the net got a V in it, so there was obviously a croc in it. So I fired up the boat, which must have scared the croc, and then the net went completely V. And as I got up, caught up to the net was together and going against the current upstream. I'm thinking, heck, this is a bigger crocodile than I thought. And then where I'd attached it to the mangroves, that broke off, and now the net is going right upstream together and quickly. So I've jammed it in forward and I've caught up to the net, and in a panic moment I've grabbed the net, tied it around the bow of the boat, hooked it up, and I thought, yeah, got you now. Wrong. The bow of the boat dug under the water. I've gone, crikey. So I've jumped back and I've hit it in reverse, which meant the boat went further under the water and it's still towing me upstream. What had happened is the big male crocodile, which is around 16 feet, was sitting right near his girl, defending her. He's gone into the net, and I didn't know this. And the front of me boat's going under, so I jammed it in forward and tried to get in front of the net. Luckily enough, in one almighty burst, there's all this thrashing around, and bang, it's just snapped through the net, and all the nets just drifted back on top of me, and I was really relieved. I sat back in the boat. Whew, thank goodness for that, because if I had have tangled that crocodile up in that net and he couldn't get away, one of us would have been in a lot of trouble, and it probably wasn't the crocodile. I finally caught Akko, and I've got mixed emotions about it. Many people tried to kill that crocodile. He's between 15, he was around about 15 feet when I caught him. He's about 16 feet now. He's a big black crocodile, and he was the legend of this particular river mouth. People have talked about him for over 20 years. All the old salty sea dogs, all the old fishermen, the farmers, they've all had a crack at him, tried to shoot him, and they all talk fluently about him, and he's got a legendary status. And I had this incident with him in the net, and 2 years later he finally made the mistake of entering into one of my traps. And so myself and Chili, my little dog, we've headed up, and sure enough, here he is in the trap. Unfortunately, he was that big that half of his body, his tail, and one back leg was hanging out of the trap, which is quite precarious. So I've gone into the mangroves, tied the boat off, gone, holy heck, what am I going to do now? Because he is really grumpy and he's growling and hissing and smashing mangroves. He was actually breaking mangrove trees almost 4 inches thick, whack, and knocking them over. And I've gone, Chili, get out of the boat, give me a hand. No way. My little dog, she stayed in the boat. There's no way she was getting out. Smart dog. And so I've got around the front, and he's just trying to kill me, thrashing around. Of course, the traps that we use, the croc can still bite through them, which means they can't hurt themselves, but for me, I'm in a little bit of danger. And I was in panic mode. I was virtually sweating bullets. So I've gone around the front of the trap trying to secure a top jaw rope so I could restrain him to try and deal with him. And I couldn't get anywhere near him. He's just so ferocious. Finally, he's lost a little bit of ground. He's used up a bit of energy. I've gone in, got a top jaw rope on, and then another one, and I've restrained it to 2 trees, and then he's thrashed around. The trees caved in on top of me and the trap. Oh, crikey, all hell broke loose from there. It was a struggle, and it was like, it's like being in a fight. I couldn't even tell you what happened from there, but I virtually got him restrained, and then I was stuck. What am I going to do? Here's 1 ton of crocodile, and I can't shift it. So I was happy that it was secured, went back to this cattle property, and I got the cattle farmer, and he rang up his cane farmer mates, and they all came out, and they come alongside the trap, and they were all full of bravado. Yeah, we'll help you with this crocodile. We're big, tough cane farmers. They got to the trap site, and here's this big black crocodile. They go, we're not getting out of the boat. No way, no way. And finally, they did get out and help me. But what happened was I got my backup boat, and I pushed it alongside this big black croc, and as he death rolled into the boat. And of course, such weight, he sank. So now I've had to kind of get in there and bail water out. We're able to hold him out of the water, get him back to the boat ramp. It didn't stop there. We got him back to the boat ramp, but he was that heavy, 8 people couldn't shift him. So we had to get a big front-end loader from the local cattle property to bring it down so as we could even shift him. What an experience.
And the cane farmers not only were big lads that were great at shifting such a big animal, they were excellent at camera work too.
I felt sorry that I had removed the ultimate predator and the king of his territory. I took him away. I removed him from his natural environment. And that hurt my feelings. He's a legendary crocodile that everyone talked about. And inevitably, if I was able to catch him, someone would have shot him. So I saved his life, and I love him dearly, but I felt very sorry that I had to remove the king from his territory.
I guess time heals all wounds, particularly with Acco. Now he's the king of a new territory.
Steve and I have had some good times over the years. We've also had the normal off times. Most father and son do, I think. But any time that we went crocodile catching, the person that I wanted next to me was Steve. We could catch a large crocodile, and the 2 of us would know exactly what each other was going to do without talking about it. I'd certainly trust Stephen with my life.
When I started in the mid-80s catching crocodiles, my best friend was my little dog Chili. Now, Chili, I guess, was a wild dog. I found her in Cape York Peninsula, and I was up there looking for taipans and green pythons, and she stumbled into our camp, and I fell in love with her straight away. Gorgeous little Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
and she really enjoyed our company, and so we camped out on the tarp under the stars, and she thought, oh, I'll camp with these guys. She was really excited, and she thought, oh, they'll need a feed. And so she disappeared for about half an hour, and we're just starting to bed down thinking, oh, a bit sleepy. I wonder where that dog went. Rustle, rustle. I could hear her coming. And here's this dog. She comes up onto the middle of our tarp, right in between our beds, clunk, and plonks down this pig's head, this rotting pig's head. And she was so proud, she'd bought us a feed. And it's like, oh yeah, well, good on you, but we had to flick it off, and she camped down with us, and she just wanted to hang out with us. So we spent some time with her, and she just wanted to stay with us. And she became my best friend. And then in the mid-80s, I went full-time catching crocodiles, you know, myself and Dad, the big tag team. And so myself and Chili, we spent a lot of our life together up in the bush, and she was dead set my best friend, my greatest companion ever. And we worked really well together as a team.
Found any chili dog? I've been trailing these pigs for about a kilometre, maybe 2. What do you got there, chili dog? She's onto something. Yeah, crocodile soup.
I'd go in on a croc and she'd run round and bark, 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 and the croc would try and kill her, so I was able to top jaw rope it. We were a great team, a really, really good team. And a very unfortunate thing happened in that I had to catch some pigs for croc bait, and these local lads, they wanted to come out. They knew a good spot to catch pigs, and I didn't like the thought of them coming down with rifles and shooting around my dog, because she was really good at finding the pigs. Anyway, one thing led to another, and we got onto a big mob of pigs, and I said to them, right, now what'll happen is Chili, she'll pick the biggest boar and she'll lug it. She'll grab it by the ear and hold it until I get there and I'm able to wrestle it over and tie it up. And she did that. She went in and she locked down on the big pig, and I couldn't get there quick enough, and one of the other blokes got in there and he was scared, and he went in with his gun, and I guess he was intimidated, and he, boom, just shot at this pig, and he killed my dog. And it really, it's the greatest amount of pain I've ever felt, ever, was losing my best friend. She died very quickly, instantaneously, and I had a lot of trouble dealing with it, and I felt very lonely, and I couldn't continue working up there, but I couldn't go home, and I cried. I just cried and cried and cried, and I didn't know what to do, and as luck would have it, my dad came up, he flew up, and he helped me. We didn't get straight out of the bush. He thought it was best that we stay there and just get over it, and so he stayed there with me, and we dismantled the croc traps, and he tried to involve me with the crocodile work and get on with life, and we built a beautiful little grave site.
Oh, Chili Dog, it's so hard without you. We loved each other so much. Together, we were the best hunting team the North has ever known. We were so tough, really tough. The emptiness, the loneliness, digs in deep, the nightmares are horrific. She was more than a dog to me and a lot of other people. And we'll never forget you, Chili Dog. One day we'll hunt together again. I'll see you later, my small dog.
She was the best friend I ever had, and we had the best time of our life, and she died doing the thing she loved the most, and that's what counts to me. She never had a bad day. We always had a good day, and gosh, she was a good girl. She was just the love of my life. G'day and welcome to Australia Zoo. Let's go.
In the early 1990s, Mum and Dad made a decision that I'd come of age and they handed me the reins of Australia Zoo. All I want to do, all I ever will do, is make them proud. This place is one of the greatest wildlife facilities on the face of the earth, and it is an excellent demonstration of Bob and Lynn Irwin's passion and enthusiasm for wildlife.
Good morning, Douglas. How are you this morning, big boy? Woo! Woo! Here at Australia Zoo, if the food isn't good enough for me, then it isn't good enough for my animals.
Steve's grown up at Australia Zoo, in with the crocodiles, teaching people about how special they are and demonstrating just how volatile their behavior can be. This is all in a day's work for Steve, bringing the excitement and the energy of what he has such an incredible passion for. Now, people enjoy learning about the crocs, but Steve didn't realize that they were actually training him. While he was showing tens of thousands of people every year all about these magnificent animals, they were gearing Steve up for the millions, even hundreds of millions of people he would be reaching eventually through a television audience. But somewhere in this audience, there's someone holding a very special surprise for Steve. Growing up in Eugene, Oregon, I never expected to land in Australia someday. Whether I was selling lemonade or exploring the woods with my family, every day was an adventure. My passion was wildlife. I worked with everything from little baby raccoons right up to the large predators like cougars. And I was always fortunate to have the backing of my parents behind me right down the line, even when my adventures took me down under. When a girlfriend of mine said she was going to Australia and would I like to go along, I decided it would be the perfect opportunity not only for a little R&R, but also to find a place for other cougars and animals that were in captivity that couldn't be released to the wild. Now, cougars are often used in the movie industry or commercial industry, and after they grow up, they need a place to live. So I thought I'd check out some zoos while I was in Australia. Now, I came over, and I never expected to end up on the Sunshine Coast or visiting Beerwah, but sure enough, driving by, there was this little tiny sign and this little tiny zoo, and I thought, I'll just go in to check it out. I went through the gate, and Australia Zoo opened up into these beautiful gardens and happy animals, and then there was a crocodile demonstration going on with this guy. This man was in with a crocodile talking about animals the way you talk about what you had for lunch. And now I'm going to feed this huge crocodile. Isn't he a little beauty? The man was saying. And I thought, well, I never really thought of crocodiles as beautiful, but I'll have a look. And I stood and listened to him talk about crocodiles, that they were passionate lovers and beautiful mothers and what special animals they were. I thought, hang on, I've never heard anyone talk like that. And then he handed the crocodile some food. It came screaming out of the water, grabbed the piece of food, and he was as calm as if he was mailing a letter in a letterbox. I was sold. I thought, this man is the most incredible guy I have ever seen. He's probably married. He's got to be taken.
When I saw Terry in the crowd, I looked up and our eyes met. And my heart just went bang, 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 just started thumping. It was love at first sight. I know this sounds like it's coming out of some Mills and Boon love novel, but it's true. Love at first sight. Next thing, whoa! I remembered where I was. Agro's trying to kill me. So I wound up the demo. Yep, thanks for coming. And then she stayed back and talked to me.
He said hello, and I think I said something really clever like hi.
And crikey, our love just went ballistic.
And at that precise moment, Lori took a photograph of us. Now, that photo I still have to this day, and it is the funniest moment. I don't know if there's many married couples who have a photo of the exact moment they first met, but I'm lucky enough to have that shot. I got to talking to this man over a course of about 3 days volunteering in the zoo. He put me to work. He had me cleaning animal cages, raking the park. I had the time of my life, and we found out we were really kindred spirits. And that's when I think we both knew that destiny had taken hold.
Getting married was the scariest moment of my entire life. I was dead set sweating bullets. You know, I was sweating. My palms had beads of sweat, and they were dripping off my fingers. I was that scared, and I was shaking
uncontrollably. I was just so nervous. I've never been more scared. I'd sooner take on a 16-foot crocodile striking at me than getting married, mate. I'm only going to do that once. We got married in the big fancy church in Eugene, Oregon, Terry's hometown, and then I got the phone call. Got this problem crocodile. This bloke, this mate of mine, John Stainton. He's our producer, our director, he's me best mate partner, you know, he's an all-round top bloke. Well, he's on the phone. Come on, Steve, come back, we gotta catch this croc and I'm gonna film it. My honeymoon, our honeymoon, was with a film crew, jumping and catching crocodiles in mosquito-infested swamps of North Queensland. And Terry, she just got amongst it.
So off we go to save this crocodile. We are in the middle of nowhere. I've never been on a film shoot. I've never been wrangling crocodiles one-on-one, and I didn't know what to expect. But out we go in this tropical mangrove mud to set up camp. And the next day I finally gear up my courage to go out and use the Aussie dunny. That's right, you grab your toilet paper and you go to the nearest bush. I headed out to this nearest bush for a little privacy, escaping the guys, and the next thing I know, I see this glint, this shine, and movement through the bush. Here is this huge snake. It must have been 6 feet long. I picked the wrong bush.
Stay very still.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to try to eat me or envenomate me or what was going on, and I nearly, well, kind of sat on it.
The black snake, gee, have a look at the size.
Are you sure it's a black snake?
Yeah, oh mate. Oh, geez, it's the big one.
Oh, Steve, it's coming over here.
All right.
Oh,
whoa, whoa.
It's very naughty. So off I came looking terribly glamorous with my dunny roll in hand, and Steve came along and, of course, tossed the snake and saved my life. Oh, Steve, be careful.
Yeah. Take it easy, black snake. You got to get out of my campsite. You can't bite my wife. Only go for a stick. It's just too aggressive.
Get a stick, get a stick. A what one?
A bushy stick. A nice, good bushy stick.
I don't know if this is bushy enough.
That's great.
You want a bushier one?
Yep, I'll
okay,
get one.
I'll get the bushier one.
In 1992, I got married to the most beautiful person on the face of the earth, and we started filming Crocodile Hunter, the series. And I was, I guess, out of my element, to speak. I was in my element doing the crocodiles and the snakes and the goannas. I was out of my element with a new wife that all of a sudden I'm trying to keep her alive as well.
Just remember one thing, this is a land crocodile. Right. You mess up with this and you're looking in a lot of trouble.
Right. What do you mean a lot of trouble?
I mean a lot of trouble.
And I had a little bit of a halfway in and out of my element with this camera, or cameras, right fair smack in my face while I'm hanging off the bad side of a red-bellied black snake or a big 11-foot crocodile. Okay.
So after the honeymoon, we embarked on the greatest wildlife experience of our life.
They got some big, Betty Davis eyes. Aren't they gorgeous?
Our wildlife documentaries were so successful that we embarked on a series 2 and even 3. At this point, other things were developing as well, and Steve and I decided to start a family. Now, there was no slowing down or keeping me at home. I wanted to be right in the thick of things, continuing our filming. I felt it would be really healthy for our developing baby to get to travel and experience my excitement and feel how passionate I always am for wildlife. So Steve, true to form, included me in everything, venomous or not.
Yeah, g'day, Steve here. Yep. So your water's broken? I'm on my way, babe, I'm on my way. Be there very shortly. Try and find my keys. Yep, I'll be there in 2 hours. Ah! Panic time. Where's my keys? Okay, Steve-o, think. Where did you put your keys? Oh, my life.
Did you make it? Hey, all right, come on in. So, do you finally find somewhere to park?
Do I look really foxy?
Yeah, you're going on. Supposed to be having contractions, you know?
Did you find any other, like, guys that you could bring with you? Hitchhikers or anyone else?
So, true to his nature, in he comes with a full film crew to film the big event. Oh, goody.
Terry starts going through the labour pains and, you know, she's grabbed hold of my arm and my thighs. You know, I had bruising after it. She was grabbing hold that hard. Anyone that's given birth, gee, you know what it's like. It's an incredible experience and quite an amount of pain.
Embrace it while relaxing on your breath.
The obstetrician was an absolute legend of a man. He goes, righto, here it comes. Okay, Steve, grab the head. Here's my daughter's head. And, like, I can see it, and there's the blood and the reality of giving birth. And I've gone to grab the head, and he's gone, no, grab it.
Oh.
It's a little girl.
It's a girl?
Whack! And here's this little baby girl. I swear she just fitted right in here in the palms of my hands.
I can't believe we threw a girl.
Unreal.
I thought you were going to be a boy.
I was flabbergasted, and it was then that her name evolved. I've gone Bindi, after my favourite crocodile, Bindi. And Terry's gone, it's a girl. And I've gone, yes, sweetheart. And she's gone, Bindi Sue. Of course, Sue, after my dog, Suey. So, Bindi Sue Irwin. And I was like, it was a combination of adrenaline and just emotion.
How do you like being named after a crocodile and a dog? You remember, you don't get to go catch crocodiles with Daddy. You just scream like that. He'll let you. He'll let you.
Make a bit of crocodile bait at that side.
Yes, we're going to go see Komodo dragons. Yes. And they'll really respond to that crying.
All right.
I cut the cord too, you know. Wow. Wild. Anyway, cut the cord and, like, she's gone onto Terry's chest and we had a few tears and it was very emotion-packed.
You're very small. She's really mad.
I can see why.
She's really mad.
Why wouldn't you be?
It's okay. It's alright. Bindi Sue, you have to run a zoo in a few years. Yeah, no, I'd be upset too. It's a huge responsibility.
Hey, Stevie, you got your wish?
Yeah, you know, I was just wishing for a girl and got one, you know. Unreal.
And I ran around the hospital, look at this. And they're like, yes, we've got our own. Yeah, but you haven't got one like this one. Look at this little beauty. Look at this little beauty. I'm showing everyone, the nurses, the other ladies that have just given birth, and they're like, oh, crikey. I am the proudest father on the face of the earth. No doubt.
Back he came. He didn't even want me to hold her. They bonded immediately. And Steve has been absolutely the best dad. Bindi just has him wrapped around her little finger. She went on her first wildlife documentary shoot at 6 days old. She went on her first overseas trip when she was just 2 weeks old.
You get those. Woo! We just crossed the Rio Grande. So that's Bindi and Steve-O's first trip to Mexico on the 20th of August, 1998. Happy days. She's in Mexico. She's a little bandito, Bindi. Little bandito.
And she's been filming with us non-stop ever since, and it's been a blast.
And here she is in her first chopper, and she's loving it. She's loving it, Bindi.
Look at my baby. Big baby.
Okay.
Barely. Scooch over here in the barely.
Okay.
Barely. Move over this way.
We're going to Queensland.
It's a long walk.
Yeah. Oh, we're very close. Here we go. Woo!
Hey, we made it.
Amen.
Rudy snake.
And it gets Daddy. Daddy gets the water head. Okay. And he gets the snake.
You get the snake.
You get the snake.
Get this snake.
Good girl.
You hold the spotlight, Mum.
Got it. You hold the spotlight, baby.
And then Daddy grabs it. And he gets it around like, I've got the tail in between my legs. And I hang him like this. I arm the crocodile. He's biting my arm. I got him off.
The Croc Hunter wildlife films have gifted me something that I never really anticipated, I never thought I'd be able to achieve, and that is taking my conservation message to the world.
Easy to tell they're a skink because they've got a very thick, fleshy tongue. Beautiful little animals, absolutely glorious.
G'day, I'm Steve Irwin, and these are highly venomous sea crates. This island moves with them. Dragon poo. Now, like all goannas, or most large goannas, large monitors, their poo is very significant. Not only is it significant to me, the researcher, but it's also significant to other dragons. This poo will tell another dragon exactly what's going on. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Here's some elephant dung. Check out the butterflies sucking up the nutrients. It's interesting how the ecosystem revolves around a large mammal. And here it is. Check this out. Look at the size of it. It's a steamer. Smell that? Ooh. Oh, mate. Smell that. There's nothing quite like eucalyptus gum leaves. Oh, how's that? How's that? I can feel the little baby moving in her tummy. Is this your first baby? It's confusing when it's your first baby, isn't it?
I guess I was in his way.
So, I just want to share with you the importance of this little girl here, because if she dies, perhaps she will help the rest of them out in the wild. Maybe secure some habitat. You're killing me. Huge, big plate head. I guess that's orangutan, but get out of my jungle. When he brings that tail up, that's like, excuse me, get out of it. Okay. You're all right, mate. Look at her, she's had her tail burnt. Really badly burnt. She's got eggs too. You're all right, sweetheart, I'm gonna save your life.
walking across the plains of Africa. I'm going to get up close and personal with the most exciting wild creatures in the animal kingdom, the dangerous Africans.
This boy means business.
This is 12 foot of sheer power. Anthony, a crocodile we had to save or he would have died. And all he wants to do is see me dead. I will put my life on the line to protect, save and rescue the crocodiles I love. Thank goodness we had the diggers, the Australian Armed Forces and my Australia Zoo team there to help us rescue this croc. Another successful rescue.
It's a black mamba. It's a black mamba, yes. He's aggressive, he's got his head up. You're kidding. Woo, black mamba.
How's the way they ran? Bang! Those tusks are thick as my wrist.
Welcome to the highlands of New Guinea, here in Irian Jaya. This is German from Amungme tribe. Yeah, special handshake.
This was the sunrise we'll never forget. My birthday I'll always remember.
It seems all we can do now is comfort them in the most dismal part of their entire life. The majority are dead, the rest are dying. We're just going to stay with them and try and be as comforting as we possibly can. It appears that a couple were beat. They sent out distress calls, and so the whole pod came in, dying on the beach. If there's one thing that I, Steve Irwin, would want to be remembered for, it's be remembered for passion and enthusiasm. Conservation is my job, my life, my whole persona.
So these spitting cobras, they're highly venomous.
There's nothing in there.
Oh! No! Get out of it! Get it!
Kill both of them.
I'm nowhere near as good as the orangutans. Check this out. In Australia, the cat.
Let's just start winging on him. Doing his wee thing.
In my life dealing with wildlife, I've been gored, clawed, chomped, bitten, savaged, jumped on, whacked, peed on, even groped. And every single time it's been my fault. If I get bitten, I've made the mistake. I knew what I was up against when I went in on that animal. And it's been a giant learning curve for me. I jumped on a crocodile and it was a bad jump. Under the water, whack, hit me in the head, scarred me here. I got scars all over my face. Terry tore my ear in half. No two fingers are the same. They've been snapped, split, chomped, nails ripped off. Have a look at my hands. Virtually scars on scars. You can't see the last bite because it's scar on scar. And this isn't some giant ego trip. It's just that I've got to get the camera. I've got to be right in there. I have to get right fair smack into the action. Because this day has come where the audience, you, need to come with me and be there with that animal. If there's whales dying on the beach on the western side of Tasmania, I want to share it with you. Because if we can touch people about wildlife, then they want to save it. If you go to SeaWorld and you get to have an encounter with a dolphin, you want to save dolphins. Gone are the days of sitting back on the long lens on the tripod and looking at wildlife
way over there. Come with me. Share it with me. Share my wildlife with me. Because humans want to save things that they love. My job, my mission, the reason I've been put onto this planet is to save wildlife. And I thank you for coming with me. Yeah, let's get him.
Hold on to him, Mum, hold on to him.
I'd like to dedicate this program and my entire life to my mum, Lynn Irwin. She was the greatest wildlife rehabilitator in the world, a true pioneer. Lynn was my legend, and in my heart, she'll live forever.